What's up everyone, me JP2 here, and in today's video we have level 50 Shadow Alolan Exeggutor in the Open Master League. Now, Exeggutor, you can get a Shadow one either from a Dragon type grunt, it's their second Pokemon, so there's like a 5% chance or something to get it from them. Or, like 2 years ago, there was an event where you could evolve Execute into Alolan Exeggutor, and Execute, the Shadow form of it, was out. But this is the best Shadow Execute I had to evolve, so this is the only Shadow Alolan Exeggutor I have. Now, Shadow Alolan Exeggutor is pretty glassy, but it does have Bullet Seed and Draco Meteor, which is basically the fastest way to make a Draco Meteor. So this thing can reach Draco Meteors extremely fast, and I find that catches opponents off guard most of the time. Now, to round out the team, I have Togekiss and Melmetal, just because those can typically be good answers to the stuff that might do well into Alolan Exeggutor, like other Dragon types, basically. The other Dragon types are the main problem, as Exeggutor, since it doesn't have Dragon Tail, can't really fight back. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Let's get to the battles. Into the first battle, and we lead Exeggutor into Kyogre. Absolutely dominant lead, as everything Kyogre has is double resisted with the exception of Blizzard. The opponent then sends in Dialga, and we're going straight Draco here. Draco nearly one-shots them. We send in Togekiss, and the opponent just leaves. They're not having any of that, and we just take that game. Bit worse of a lead here, as Alolan Exeggutor into Metagross isn't good because they're going to resist everything we have. However, we make it to a Draco a single turn before they make it to a Meteor Mash, so we can just go for that and then dip. Now, the opponent is going to go for a move here. I tank an Earthquake, and the opponent actually does bait, so it's a very nice no-shield by me, even if it is kind of risky. Now, I will be going for a Superpower. The Superpower actually grabs a shield, and if the opponent really wants that energy, they're actually going to have to shield twice. And it looks like they do. They shield, and then they send in Dragonite. Now, the thing about this is the switch clocks are so misaligned that I can just go for 1 or 2 Rock Slides, and then just send in Togekiss. Now, even if they have Hyper Beam, since they're non-Shadow, I do believe we tank it. And it looks like they do not have Hyper Beam or Hurricane. And now, I can just no-shield whatever this is, as nothing they have can take me out. Superpower does some okay damage, and we just farm down. I'm hoping they'll send in Metagross here, and I was hoping I could get 1 Charm off so I could get a Bullet Seed farm down, but unfortunately I did not, and that does mean I probably will have a lot more trouble getting a Bullet Seed farm down, as Bullet Seed does not have much pressure. Now the opponent actually switches out into Gyarados though, and they're going to regret that decision as we make it to a Draco. Draco nearly one-shots them. We get a farm down with Melmetal, and the opponent just concedes the match again. We see Melmetal on the lead in the next battle, and this is also a pretty terrible lead. Fortunately, I do tank like a Rock Slide or in a Superpower. I tank at least 1, and then I can just go for a Draco and leave. The opponent actually goes straight Superpower here, and I could have just thrown the Draco, but I decided I should just shield, and now they'll go for another Superpower, so this Draco will do more. The opponent, however, sends in Palkia, and I stayed in a bit too long here to go for the Draco, as that Dragon Tail will register, and that Dragon Tail hits for heavy damage. Now I can send in Togekiss, and I am kind of worried they have Fire Blast, but I really don't want to commit my final shield. It is a Fire Blast, though. It nearly takes me out. But on the bright side, I have enough HP that if they send in the Melmetal, I make it to an Aura Sphere. Now, Aura Sphere will do some okay damage, so the opponent actually does shield. And now I have to send in my own Melmetal, as Exeggutor is pretty low. I actually do decide to send in Exeggutor, thinking my opponent will Blind Throw. They do Blind Throw a Superpower, and that's perfect. Unfortunately, I still do have to tank a Superpower from the Melmetal. It is debuffed though, so it's not going to be that bad. Now, I can go for a Superpower of my own. I do decide to overfarm a bit just to make sure I have enough energy, and that overfarm actually does save me, as they have a Yveltal, and because I'm debuffed, I cannot tank a Dark Pulse very well. And so I can go for a Rock Slide, but since I'm also debuffed in my attack, I'm going to need 2 Rock Slides and a Superpower to KO. So the opponent can go for a Dark Pulse, but overfarming here actually is going to save me that game, because Dark Pulse, there are 3 Snarls off, but if I can make it to a Superpower in 4, then I will be able to take him out. Now the opponent does lag, but since I made it to the Superpower in 4, it doesn't matter, as I would have won that game anyways. We see Chandelure in the lead in the next battle. Now this is an interesting lead. Honestly, it was really refreshing to just not see like Mewtwo on the lead and stuff, and the opponent does throw an alignment. Granted, it's really hard to throw on proper timing when you're an Incinerate user, so my opponent, I understand why they did that. But now I can go for a Seed Bomb bait, and now if the opponent chooses to try and farm down, I make it to a Draco. Now they tank a Seed Bomb, but you know what they don't tank? Draco Meteor. They get one shot. Now the opponent sends in Machamp, and this, looking like Togekiss, will take care of it. The opponent has a Togekiss of their own in the back, and you guys can pretty much imagine what happened here. We're just going to play it out. I'm just hoping my opponent resigns the match, as this game is completely over. Now, I will be going for another Rock Slide. The opponent, they actually do shield it. They're really trying to win here, but there's nothing they can do, as they're not even going to grab my shield. My best guess is they're hoping they could grab my shield, farm down with Machamp, and then go for a Rock Slide and a Togekiss. But I can actually superpower the Togekiss, make sure they only get one counter or farm. Now send in my Togekiss, and they can go for a move here. They have to bait, so I'm going to call it. It is the Cross Chop, and yeah, the opponent just concedes the match. You see Rayquaza on the lead in the next battle. This is terrible. Like, that's why I was kind of nervous about running Bullet Seed, is I just cannot do anything into basically any other Dragon types. Now, I will try and get shields down here, as Rayquaza is a lot less threatening when shields are down. So I do shield, and I'm going to go for the Aura Sphere. Now, Aura Sphere is going to grab a shield, but they will get a nice farm down. So that doesn't work out too well, I guess. I have to send in Melmetal, though, as Exeggutor still doesn't take him out with a Seed Bomb. And so they can just go for an Earthquake. That does a ton of damage. And now I lose CMP. That was, I don't know what mistake, like what number mistake that was on the list of mistakes I've made in this battle, but I was pretty much already going to lose anyways. I take him out with the Superpower, but there's still the full health Rayquaza, and I just concede the match. There are so many Steel-type leads, as we see another Metagross. We already know the game plan here. We just stay in, drop a Draco, and then just leave. We land the Draco Meteor and send in Melmetal. Now this opponent, I think, is going to go straight Earthquake. They do go straight Earthquake. And now they send in Kyogre. Now, this is perfect, as I should be able to make it to at least 2 Rock Slides. And actually, instead of going for another Rock Slide, I'm going to go for a Superpower, as that makes sure this Waterfall KOs, even though I'm pretty sure it already did, and it does slightly more damage. Now I can send in Exeggutor, and Exeggutor can just get a full farm down. As long as they don't have Blizzard, which I don't even think they farmed up to there, nothing takes me out, and we get a full farm down. Now the opponent sends back in Metagross, and I'm going for another Draco Meteor. This Metagross gets taken out by a second Draco Meteor, and in the back gets Yveltal, and yeah, game over, and we take that game. You see Garchomp on the lead in the next battle. Now, Garchomp, they're on Dragon Tail, so I have to send in Togekiss. And, like, this is the thing. My team is basically a ABA weak to Garchomp, but this opponent's staying in. They go for a Sand Tomb, and so they must be really weak to Togekiss if they're really just going to stay in with Garchomp. Then they send in Groudon. So they're definitely very weak here. I can go for an Aura Sphere, and that does grab a shield. So it's pretty much guaranteed to have another Dragon type in the back. And the Groudon goes for Fire Punch. Because I'm debuffed, that does more damage, and it actually does put me into a range where a second one will take me out. Now, I do let it go through. Now I send an Exeggutor. Now, the opponent goes for, I believe, a Fire Punch here. Precipice Blades is resisted, but would probably still nearly take me out. The opponent sends in Dragonite, and they're on Dragon Tail, so they are going to pretty much get a farm down here. They don't. I grab their shield with the Draco, though, and that pretty much secures this game. As to do any damage, they have to debuff themselves. Since I have 2 shields, they just expect me to shield. So they actually baited there, and that just puts the final nail in the coffin, as now I can go for the double Rock Slides. I have 2 shields, so their Groudon cannot do anything. And so now I can just go straight for a Superpower here. This Superpower will not take him out. They are a bit too healthy for that, but a couple more Thunder Shocks takes him out, and we take that game. You see Terrakion in the lead in the next battle. Now, this is an interesting lead, as it does seem like it would be positive, but because of how glassy Alolan Exeggutor is, it's still not the best matchup. The opponent then sends in Gyarados, and I'm just going to go for a Draco. I want a shield or damage. I grab the shield, and that's fine by me. Now I send in Melmetal. Now, Melmetal can comfortably tank one move from Gyarados, and then just farm up to double Rock Slides, and just take him out with those. I can actually probably just farm up to this, and then just farm him down afterwards. However, I want to keep enough HP on the Melmetal to tank a Sacred Sword, although I think I'm already in Sacred Sword range, so I probably should have farmed down, but I decide against it and go for the Rock Slide. Now, they send in the Terrakion, and I will grab their final shield with the Superpower, unless I want to get taken out. So the Superpower does grab shield, and then they send in Giratina. I would have loved to send in Exeggutor and go for a Draco here, but there's one slight problem in that Exeggutor has a bit too little health left, as it would probably just get farmed down. Now, the opponent, they have Ancient Power on their Giratina, and I actually decide that I'm just going to call the bait, and it is the bait. Now, the opponent is actually going to make it to another move, and I really wanted to see if I could farm up to a Draco on the Exeggutor, but I have to tank a couple too many Shadow Claws, and they probably could have gotten a full farm down here, but they actually throw a Sacred Sword. So now I will live one double kick, and I can go for a Seed Bomb. It's not a Draco, but it is super effective, and this will get them very low. Now, Melmetal, they actually get the new mechanic here, but since I have a shield, it still doesn't save them. They go for Sacred Sword, it takes me out, and sorry, it doesn't take me out because I shielded it, and I take them out. Another Garchomp lead. This opponent's Garchomp is actually on Mudshot, and they actually overfarm over, I think it's 7 to an Earth Power. It might be 8 to an Outrage, I'm not sure. But they actually no-shield the Draco, and, well, they're kind of going to regret that decision as they lose a lot of energy. Now, I will farm up to another Draco Meteor on the Exeggutor. My Exeggutor is extremely low now, but I send in Melmetal, and the opponent's not switching out. I don't know what they could have in the back that's even more weak to Melmetal, so they must really have something in the back that does not like seeing Melmetal. Now, the opponent does bait the Focus Blast, they go for a Dark Pulse, and now I'm going to no-shield the second one. They then send in Kyogre, and if I'm being honest, they probably should have immediately sent that in, but it works in my favor that they didn't. So now I can just go for a Rock Slide, and now I should be able to actually make it to another Superpower if they just go for a full farm down, and that's what we do. Now, I would really want to see a Draco land under the Yveltal, so while I could have sent in Exeggutor here, I actually sent in Togekiss to tank the energy. Now, if they go for a Origin Pulse, I do live it, and now the Charm takes him out, and we send in Exeggutor, and we can go for a Draco. This Draco will basically one-shot him, and we do take that game. We see Palkia on the lead in the next battle, and this is not a good lead. I immediately send in Melmetal. This opponent's also not switching out. Now, I am inclined to believe they might have Fire Blast if they're really staying into this matchup. The opponent shields the Rock Slide. Now, I'm going for a second Rock Slide. Now, this won't take him out, and the opponent knows that. They no-shield it. And now, I could shield here if it is a Fire Blast, but I honestly doubted it, and that cost me. Now, I do decide to wait out my switch clock, as I did switch out and they didn't. I send in Togekiss, and they have Melmetal. This basically is just game over, as Melmetal kind of beats Exeggutor and Togekiss, so not really sure what to do. I can get their final shield with my Aura Sphere, but I still don't think Draco takes them out from this range. So even if I get their shield, I have to land a couple more charms before they're actually anywhere near the range for Draco to take them out. And I just send in Exeggutor immediately. That's a bit of a misplay. And I do think this game's already over, so making a misplay like that doesn't really matter. Now, I will have to shield here. At this point, I just want to see a Draco land onto something. So I shield. The opponent sends in Palkia, and I will go for Seed Bomb. This will take him out. And now, the opponent, they send in Sylveon. I really want to see a Draco land on something, but so I do go for the Draco, but it's resisted, and we lose that game. We see Kyogre on the lead in the next battle. A very good lead. We've seen it before. The opponent then sends in Mewtwo, and I don't know why there's so many Mewtwo's on Confusion like there were in the last video. Doesn't matter because it's gone, but that was kind of interesting while it lasted. The opponent then sends in Melmetal, and I can tank a move from there, but I do decide to just catch the Rock Slide onto my own Melmetal. Now, they go for the Rock Slide. It's resisted, does very little. Now, I can just no-shield here again. They go for Superpower, they debuff themselves, they actually do bait, and now I can go for a Superpower. They shield this, it's not ideal, and they do shield it, so now my next Superpowers are going to do less damage, which is not good, but it's still not going to affect me that much. Now, I misplayed there. I thought I tanked another superpower, but I didn't. And because of that, I still don't get their final shield. Thankfully, they are debuffed, so Togekiss is going to do more damage with Charms, but still not the best. Now, I will be shielding this Rock Slide, and now I'm going to farm to an Aura Sphere, and I'm going to go for the Aura Sphere. Wait a turn to make sure they don't catch it, and now the Aura Sphere gets shielded, and this still doesn't necessarily look good. Now, I no-shield the Rock Slide, and I'm going to immediately send an Exeggutor, and I can actually go for a Seed Bomb, and because they're debuffed, it'll probably take them out. So I'm expecting them to switch out after this, but they don't. And that means I get to go for a Seed Bomb. Not really sure why they didn't switch out. They probably forgot they were debuffed, if I'm being honest. But now, they can send a Kyogre, and Seed Bomb's super effective, but Draco is just insanely powerful. It nearly one-shots them, and even if they make it to a move here, it's still, I don't even think a Thunder takes me out. Surf definitely won't, and we do take that game. We see Shadow Mewtwo on the lead in the next battle, and this isn't good as Psystrike will fully one-shot us, basically. The opponent then sends in Zygarde, and Zygarde, it tanks anything, basically. However, I use that to my advantage, as Draco nearly one-shots the Zygarde. That's insane. I mean, like, the Zygarde, this is a pretty under-leveled Zygarde, if I'm being honest, but still. The opponent then sends in Hydreigon, and that is a really questionable play. The opponent, I guess they didn't want to just have me double shield and charm through their Mewtwo. They're hoping they could get a shield off me by sending in Hydreigon, but they just get farmed down. And now, I just have Togekiss with a ton of energy, and so this opponent's basically going to get swept by Togekiss. We even get an Ancient Power boost, and that's just insult to injury. And now, the opponent just lets that Ancient Power go through. They recognize that game is over, and we take the game. Overall, this thing is really fun to use. However, it's really glassy, and it's extremely alignment dependent, because you get it aligned to any other dragon type or just a fairy type, you lose. Like, there are a bunch of battles that I didn't show where basically Exeggutor, we just led into a fairy type or just into another dragon type, and those battles are boring. Like, honestly, I want to show you guys entertaining battles. So, like, if I show, like, a bunch of battles where I just get RPS, that's not fun. But please do note that I'm not just so skilled that I manage to win with everything. It's just that some of the battles I choose not to show as they're not entertaining. Now, Exeggutor, the Draco Meteor, it's a lot of fun, but I'm probably going to use this thing as a raid attacker, as it's not too good in the Master League because of how glassy it is. In raids, though, where you can heal up your Pokemon, it certainly is good. So I think I'll leave it as that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.